My first guest is a former Baptist pastor who won a very tight race to become the representative of North Carolina's 9th District. Now, in the interest of full disclosure, I supported Mark Harris in his bid for Congress. Happy that I did. Welcome, Congressman-elect Mark Harris. Well, Congressman, I am very happy to have you join me today, and I want to begin by going a little bit back to the campaign. In the last days, you were rather viciously attacked for messages you had preached about marriage. I was shocked by that. Were you?
Going back in the archives and pulling a sermon out of the archives and then pulling literally phrases out of context in order to make a political point or a political ad was really something I just didn't see coming. So it was disappointing as well as surprising.
Let's move on now to the fact that you've going to be leaving the pastorate. You've done that, headed to Congress. Tell us about the transition.
Well, yes, sir. We are in the midst of that transition right now, actually in Washington, D.C., during a time of new member orientation, which is certainly an exciting time to be here, learning a whole lot as we go through and have gone through the week about exactly setting up our congressional offices, staffing them, budgets, and all kinds of things. Of course, things are going to be a little bit different than what we had hoped or anticipated, in that I'm going to be in the minority party starting out. But it's an exciting time, and we believe that we've got to have our voice heard right here in the halls of Congress.
Well, I think it's fair to say it won't be as much fun with Nancy Pelosi as the Speaker as it would have been with maybe Kevin McCarthy or Steve Scalise. What does that mean to you in terms of how effective you can be when you're in the minority?
Well, I tell folks, I ran for U.S. House of Representatives from the 9th District of North Carolina to represent the people of the 9th District. So whether I'm doing that from the position of the majority party or whether I'm doing that from the position of the minority party, that really is going to continue to be my first task.
The president came in and campaigned for you on several occasions. Was that a net help, neutral, or did it hurt your campaign?
We were excited to have him. He came and did a fundraiser just before Labor Day, and then he came in actually the Friday after early voting had gotten underway and did one of his great rallies for myself and Congressman Ted Budd in District 13. And while we were two of the races that were targeted across the country, both Ted and I managed to get through and won our races, and I do think the president, no doubt, was a net positive.
You were attacked in the campaign for your faith. Some people would maybe suggest that you need to just leave your faith in North Carolina, not take it with you to Washington.
I don't intend to change who I am. I do think it's important that I understand and remember every single day that on January 3rd, I'm going to raise my hand and I'm going to take an oath of office. And that oath will include to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States of America.
Congressman, I have heard you speak of the powerful impact of your father upon you, your life, and some things he said to you. We only have about a minute left, but I'm wondering if in that minute you could condense that, because I think it's a very powerful reflection.
My dad was raised at the Methodist Children's Home, and I will always be forever grateful to the United Methodist Church for raising my daddy there in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. He went off into World War II at age 18, and he was a waist gunner on a B-17. His plane was shot down on November 2nd, 1944. He was captured and spent from November 2nd, 44 till the end of the war in a Nazi prison camp. And I had to meet with my dad before I could make this decision to step into this arena. I just knew in my heart I had to. So I went and I shared with him what I was thinking of doing. And I'll never forget, he just looked at me and said, "Well, son, just please be careful." And I said, "Well, Dad, to hear that from you is a little bit of a shock, because the greatest generation always said that it's not about me, but it's about all of us and what's best and right for the nation." And that's what's been missing, I think, in Washington, D.C., are men and women that are standing in Congress and looking from that 30,000-foot view that are willing to do what is best and right for America. And so I left my dad's home that day really understanding that that's what God had called me to do.
Our thanks and prayers for North Carolina Representative-elect Mark Harris. I'm sure he's going to be thinking of Daniel in the lion's den as he prepares for life in Washington. You can keep up with him online at markharrisforcongress.com.